Chapter 4, Section 2 is about relations and functions. And a relation is simply a relationship between two variables. Relationship between two variables. Actually, a lot like what we've been doing a lot in algebra. You're just going to have a y equals x, some sort of a relationship between the two. And you can actually write relations as tables, maps, or graphs. So first of all, we're asked to write this as a table. So I'm just going to do 2, 3, 4, 7, and 6, 8. The first are the x values, the second are the y values. And that is a table. And as a mapping, you have these kind of oval shaped things. The x values go in the first oval rounded box, whatever you want to call it, and the second numbers go in the second. And then you just draw these little arrows showing which ones go together. And the last, or number 2, describe what these numbers mean if they represent information from a track meet. What it's intended to mean is that in first place gets 5 points, second place gets 3 points, and third place gets 1 point. So those ordered pairs actually represent that information from a track meet. Your domain are your independent or your x values. Your range is your dependent or your y values. And if you have a function, you have one x corresponds to one y. Your x's cannot repeat. Your y's can repeat, but your x's cannot repeat. And we have a vertical line test for functions, and what you do is you draw a vertical line, and then you cross, you kind of pull that vertical line across, and if it only crosses, can only cross the graph once for each x value, then it is a function. And that will make more sense as we move on to the next page. Number 3, you are asked to give the domain and the range of the set of numbers here. So our domain, we're going to write, this is in set notation. Our domain are our x values, 6, 0, 8, and -3. Our range are the y values, or the second one, -4, 1, 2, and -4. You don't have to repeat that -4. And it's a function if each x corresponds to a y. None of our x's repeat here, so yes, that is a function. Number 2, our domain is 7, 6, 9, I'm not going to repeat that one because it's the same, and 15. Our range is -1, 0, -7. We already have -1 and 0. These two are actually the same point. So the 7 repeats, but it graphs with the same -1. So no other x repeats, so that is also a function. And then number 5, the domain is 75, 68, 125. Your range is 2, 2, 3, and none of the x's repeat, so yes, that is a function. At the top of the next page, our domain is 5, 10, 15. Our range is 2, 4, 6, and 8. Now see how the 5 picks the 2 and the 5 also picks the 4? This one then is not a function because the x picks 2 different y's. So this one is not a function. Now these were all discrete or dots, and these are all constant. So for the domain, we are talking x values. And for the domain, we need all values, all x values. Well, our graph, the x values, go all the way across there. So our domain goes from 1 to 5, and it includes every single value there, every fraction, every decimal. So we write that as an inequality. 1 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 5. And that includes every number from here to here. Now our range is top to bottom. So our range is up and down. And I'm going to draw that little green thing there. Our lowest boundary on our range is the 3, and the highest boundary on the 4, or the highest boundary is the 4. So our range is 3 is less than or equal to y is less than or equal to 4. And this is what I talked about with the vertical line test earlier. If we take a vertical line and I pass it across here, it only touches the graph in one place the entire time. So that means it is a function, because if you draw that vertical line, it only touches the line once. Number 8, your domain is your x values, and it starts right here and it goes all the way over. So our x values start, let's see, this is -2, -3, -4, -5. Your domain is -5, and it goes up to 1, 2, 3. And when we write an inequality like that, it includes every single fraction, decimal, everything in between. And our range goes top to bottom. So our lowest value on the range here looks like we're at -2, and the highest value is 1. So -2 is less than or equal to y is less than or equal to 1. And if we want to tell whether or not this is a function, we do our vertical line test. And see when we pass this vertical line, see how it touches in two places? That means it is not a function. It's not a function. Number 9, the domain and range. These are little arrows here. This is a parabola. So this domain, this is going to continue going in this direction. It's going to keep going and going and going, and it's never ever going to end. And in this direction we're going to do the same thing. So our domain is going to be all real numbers. If that graph was big enough, it would keep going forever and ever and ever and ever. Now our range is our top to bottom, and we have a lower boundary here. It's the lowest point on that graph, which is -4, and then it goes up. All of those numbers are above -4. So our range then is the numbers that are bigger than or equal to -4. And as we look at this, if you do your vertical line test, pass a vertical line across, touches in one place the entire time, never touches in two places. So yes, that is a function. Number 10, our domain goes left to right, and there's kind of a boundary right here. Looks like this is 0, 0, so that boundary is -1, -2, -3, -4. Those numbers are all bigger than -4. So n is greater than or equal to -4. And our range is top to bottom. And again, this is going to continue both ways. It's going to keep going forever and ever and ever. So for that range, our range in this case is all real numbers. And as far as the vertical line test, you pass this line, it touches in two places, and so that means it is not a function. I'm going to draw a vertical line here, touches in two places, so that is not a function. Number 11, our domain is left to right. So this lower boundary is -5. This upper boundary is 5. Our range is top to bottom. Looks like this lower boundary is -4, and that is 4. And your vertical line test, right there, it touches in two places. There's 2 dots right here, so that is not a function.